Jason, I wish there was a resource, someplace that firefighters and first responders could go anonymously to talk to somebody. Don't you wish something like that existed?
Yeah, for sure. And interestingly enough, as of last week, I launched formally through an email campaign my Leadership One blog. And that blog is for first responders and first responder family members to hop on and just share their thoughts, concerns. Obviously, if someone is in crisis or dire need of help, a blog is not the place to do that. But I do want to create a safe space for dialogue, a space where no one feels like, if they're going to have, their badge taken away or get put on desk duty because they say certain things. And also, if people are writing pieces that aren't getting published, I want to be a place for to publish those as well. And so send them to me. Go to ironcladwellness.com, go to the blog. It's called a Leadership One blog. You don't have to be a leader in rank necessarily. We want mental health leaders. That could be someone who's brand new in the fire service, brand new to the police force, that's motivated within the mental health realm to come in and share their thoughts. And we want to welcome all ranks and just create an atmosphere that's transparent, relational, and share knowledge with others, that might be struggling.
So let's say I make a scene and I'm still thinking about that scene days later, it's sticking with me, and I don't, nobody at my shift's talking about it. They're all veterans that are, dealing with their own way, and I don't feel comfortable going to those guys because I don't want them to feel like I'm weak or the lesser. If I go to this blog and I start typing in my experience of what I'm going through, would it be you that responds back to me?
Yeah, so I do respond back. I also screen the interactions. That way I make sure that we don't have a rogue, post come in that throws people off and is a detriment. I don't want that. But for the most part, it's a no holds barred, gloves off conversation. You can write what you need to, write how you feel. And what I'm hoping is that there's a field of support out there for that individual that replies to that post. And make sure that person feels like they're, taken care of, that the wagons have circled. That's important to me with the blog as well. So come on there, write your experience, and then hopefully some dialogue can take place and make you feel like you're not alone. Yeah,
so important. And you mentioned a second ago about not having to worry about losing your badge or being labeled unfit for duty because you're able to confess this kind of thing you're struggling with.
Yeah.
So more conversations like that, and you're making a way for that to happen on this blog. And then the resources that have already shown up to be a part of this, tell me, without being specific, tell me some of the experience of some of these people that have already been contributing to the blog.
Yeah, so right now we have an open forum. We don't have any posts on the open forum. So literally just come in and start it out for us, right? I do have some prompting questions on there that might, allow you to get the wheels turning a little bit. And we also have an individual named Chris Brooks from Lake Worth Fire. Absolutely amazing individual that came up to me after my last speaking event down in Corpus. And he said, "Hey man, I have this piece on my experience in mental health in the fire service. I've sent it out to a couple of my leaders in my organization, but I'd love to send it to you." And I said, "Dude," I'm putting together this blog and I want to post it on there. And I said, "I want to post yours and every other story on there."
Yeah.
And so I did. And the coolest thing happened the other day. I was going through my emails and I get a notification when someone responds. His wife responded to his post and, just said, "Great work. I'm proud of you." And that made my heart feel good because that's what it's about, man. It's about getting all the wagons, circled, and that's family, that's coworkers, that's friends, loved ones, getting everybody together.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So the resources that you have and that you've been able to assemble in this outlet for people to reach out and get help anonymously is such a help. So that's a digital platform that people can go use. Have you ever thought about a book?
Yeah, finishing up a book actually. So the book's titled Freedom Found. It's a memoir. And it's just about my experience all the way from childhood and, talking about adverse childhood experiences, something that's big within the first responder realm right now, going into some pretty good detail about what those are and my experience with them, walking through addiction and the correlation between addiction and perhaps some of those adverse childhood experiences is a big topic as well. Talk about some leadership traits in that book. That came out of those difficulties and those instances in life. And we talk about post-traumatic growth That's a massive area that I feel is understudied right now. I think that it's gaining traction, and I hope it does, because just like PTS, there's PTG, man. There's growth after that stuff, and shout out to Dr. Tedeschi and Dr. Calhoun for putting that together back in '96. We're just finally coming around to it with the fire service. But that's a whole mode of therapy now, is working within post-traumatic growth and concentrating more on the upside of things and how things are going to be down the road because of your struggles, not letting your past define your struggles, if that makes sense. And that's been really cool to do. I am not a writer. I don't write professionally, nor am I a businessman. And here I am with a business and a book. So just goes to show, man, life can take you all kinds of crazy places when you trust the process.
You've been so open and transparent about your failures, but then on the flip side of your successes and your wins too, have had to come outside of that. So thank you for being brave and sharing that, because I know it's impacting people. It's just changing people. It's moving the culture in the right direction that needs to go. So when do you expect to have that book ready to go? And then how do people find it?
Yeah, I've put it off for almost a year now, because I do struggle still with perfectionism. I go back and I look at a chapter and I'm like, man, there's more to it. There's got to be more to it. So I'm looking to push the book out by the end of the year. That is my goal, maybe sooner. Right now I'm in the editing phase, which is the most, drug out phase that there is. Writing it wasn't really a problem. It was the editing phase that's really kicked my butt. So hopefully by the end of 2026, if I'm being ambitious, probably middle of the year.
Yeah. Have you gotten a wait list yet on your website for it?
No wait list yet. I share it in passing when I speak sometimes, and I'll get people that come up and tell me they can't wait for it to come out and all this stuff. What's interesting, and again, not to go off topic, but a lot of times the speaking gigs that I get are about an hour long, hour and a half long. And clearly by sitting across from me, that it's longer than that. And so I really try to condense all this information in an hour. And I remember I got back up to the hotel room one time, and my wife was like, you need like 4 hours to really like get into the nuts and bolts and get your story out there. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like I have a lot. I've had a lot happen to me, a lot going on. And she was the reason that I wrote the book, because I'm like, if I could hand somebody a book afterwards and be like, hey, if you didn't get everything you needed out of this session, read this book. This will tell you everything that I would tell everybody in a 4-hour session. Yeah. That was the premise behind it.
Oh, that's exciting. Looking forward to it. I can't wait for that to happen, hopefully by the end of this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'll be published on Amazon Kindle publishing. So it'll be available on ebook and paperback.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason.
Absolutely.